Victoria Ballard, naturopath, and I want to talk about leptin resistance because I've been thinking, you know, I haven't heard that much about leptin resistance. What is it and how come I wasn't trained on it when I was doing my naturopathic training? Just 4 years of naturopathic training. That's why I can't call myself a doctor. In England, you have to do 7 years to get to MD, then another 4 years to get to naturopathic doctor. So that's why I am not a doctor, but I am a naturopath, and I do have decades of experience, but not decades of experience of leptin resistance. So I have been going all over the internet, all over YouTube. I've even been on ChatGPT and InVideo.io, and it doesn't seem that anyone knows that much about it. And this might be because it wasn't really, I wouldn't say discovered, but actually named in 1994. Which is actually 8 years after I graduated. So what is this leptin resistance? Well, leptin comes from the fat cells and goes to the hypothalamus and says, I've eaten enough, don't need to eat anymore, I'm full. Which is great. This is a hormone that we want to embrace. This is the hormone that says, hey, I'm full, I don't need to eat anymore. This is on our side. But what is leptin resistance? Well, seems to me that it's very similar to insulin resistance. It's been flooding the signals from the fat cells to the hypothalamus, and it's getting a bit confused. The hypothalamus is getting a bit confused. It's not getting the message, I am full. Now, I recognize this in myself. You may not have leptin resistance, but I have eaten a huge meal and sometimes sort of feel a bit embarrassed. My God, I could eat all that again. And everyone else at the table has finished, and I've finished, but basically I'm still a bit hungry, which comes from ghrelin in the stomach. So the ghrelin signals are being messed around with by the leptin resistance. So I thought, well, what on earth do we do about leptin resistance? And I go to my favourite go-to guru, who seems to know everything about everything. He's so highly trained. He's a nephrologist who has been dealing with kidney failure, which has come mainly from insulin resistance and diabetes. It's diabetes that he is reversing on a daily basis. So finally I get to a YouTube video where he links the two, insulin resistance and leptin resistance. And the solution to both are the same. Now, Dr. Jason Fung, he really does a lot of research and gives you a lot of scientific information. But basically, he's just there to solve the problems. And the problems of insulin resistance, which I think you all know what that is, but I'm going to quickly remind you. Insulin resistance is when the body has been probably abused or just by toxins in the environment, or eating processed foods with sugar and the bad oils, the highly omega-6 seed oils and vegetable oils. So we've kind of been messing up our hormonal channels. And in some other video, I'd like to tell you just how much allergies can interfere with these hormonal pathways. So whether you have allergies or not, if your leptin and insulin resistant pathways are out of whack, the insulin resistance is simply that the spikes in insulin from eating are just sending too much insulin to try and get the glucose into the cells to give us energy. And our bodies haven't changed that much in millions of years, so its job is to get glucose into the cells, especially the muscle cells, so that we can run like hell, either to chase our prey to eat, or to run away from some saber-toothed tiger that wants us to be its meal. So insulin resistance is fairly easy to understand. The insulin spikes, they've just been going on for too long because we've been snacking, we've been eating rubbish food that is sold to us through the food industry, and we've messed up our signals. And so the cells are saying, sorry, you've been knocking on my door so bloody often with your insulin that is made by the pancreas, and we're getting so much insulin knocking on the door to try and get glucose into our cells that we just don't want anymore, thank you very much. So that's insulin resistance, which I think I understand, I hope you understand. Jason Fung has done so many videos on it. And how can we avoid these insulin spikes? Well, we need to go longer between meals. So insulin resistance, funnily enough, has the same solutions as leptin resistance. But let's talk about the action of leptin. We've got this hunger hormone, ghrelin, and it tends to get going when it's nearly our usual meal time. So we feel hungry. And then when we've eaten enough, leptin is supposed to say, hey, hypothalamus, I've eaten enough. You can switch off this ghrelin in my stomach. So the ghrelin turns off, we feel full, and we don't need to eat. Some of us are on 1 meal a day, some of us are on intermittent fasting, some of us are on 3 meals a day, but we're not snacking in between, so that might be perfectly okay for us. Right, but what is leptin resistance? Well, leptin resistance is when, by abusing our bodies, unknowingly, often following guidelines from respectable organizations. So we've actually messed up our hormonal pathway between the fat cells and the leptin-resistant receptors in the hypothalamus. So it's been basically giving too many messages, and it's confused the hypothalamus, so the hypothalamus doesn't turn on leptin at the end of the meal. So you still feel hungry, so you eat more, you overeat, you can be hungry in between meals and snack. Leptin resistance is something we definitely need to sort out. I mean, there are other hunger hormones. We've covered ghrelin. I've also talked a lot about cortisol, but that is mainly caused by stress, which makes more cortisol, which also puts on belly fat. But this is more about leptin, because I've been absolutely immersing myself in all this stuff about leptin. So how do we resolve insulin resistance and leptin resistance? Luckily, I found a wonderful 1.5-hour video by Jason Fung, who, although he's always science-based and gives you all sorts of graphs and the history of when we knew these things and how come we didn't follow the advice, how come we followed the food industry adverts and the wrong guidance from so-called medical experts. Well, to his beautiful soul, he just wants people to get well. So basically the same things that turn off insulin resistance turn off leptin resistance. So this is the basic information from this video, is get plenty of sleep so that you are well rested, and this also affects leptin. Stay hydrated, that affects leptin. Eat protein, this is really essential for leptin. And I question whether there's enough protein in the ketogenic diet if you are severely leptin resistant, because protein is what really turns off this resistance and gets it working again, so that when you're full, you stay full till the next meal. So what other things can we do? The same as insulin resistance, no snacking. We do the best we can to have length of time between meals. We try to go low carb or even no carb, depending on how insulin resistant or leptin resistant you actually are. And we need to manage stress, because stress will turn on the cortisol, which will also mess up the whole it'll put you into fight or flight, which will mess up the digestive system, and you can get like IBS or just general acid reflux or indigestion. So I can't leave cortisol out completely. So basically follow the advice for insulin resistance. Leave as much room as possible between meals for the body to bring insulin down and the leptin up, because the leptin says we're full and we want to stay feeling full. Now, if you've really had a tough time with leptin resistance and you're never ever satisfied, and leptin is it's really not doing its job, it's really not saying, listen, I'm full, I just want to eat all the time. I mean, it's just like the ghrelin is just going flat out. Even though I go long periods of time between my meals, I'm hungry all the time. So if I was severely hungry most of the time and not feeling full at the end of a quite large meal, then I would strongly recommend you consider, if you're not a vegetarian, going carnivore, because it's zero carbs. It gives the maximum amount of protein, which is what is the best solution for leptin resistance. You never feel hungry because you can eat as much as you like. It is the only diet I know that you can eat as much as you like, as long as you stay within the guidelines of carnivore, which are preferably ruminant meat, that is beef, lamb, goat, venison, and eggs, which are absolutely amazing and rarely allergenic. If they are allergenic, it's the whites. The yolks are absolutely amazing. Fish, all the other meats, including bacon, which has so little nitrate that you really mustn't be put off bacon. And so butter is good to cook with, ghee is good to cook with, animal fats, which you can make yourself from the butcher's spare fat. And it's not a solution for vegetarians, but ketogenic is going to have to work for vegetarians, and I would actually say if you're leptin resistant, up the protein. You know, just change the macros that little bit to get yourself enough protein. And that will pretty much cover it. If you're having trouble sleeping, as I have confessed to, then do try all the natural remedies, especially melatonin. Melatonin actually has other benefits as well as turning on the sleep hormone saying, hey, I'm tired, I want to go to sleep. It also is an antioxidant. It has many properties and it's not addictive. You mustn't be fooled into saying you can't, if you keep taking melatonin, it will stop your own body producing melatonin. That isn't really my experience. Most people find that melatonin helps them sleep. So get plenty of sleep, hydrate, plenty of protein, time between meals, do the best you can with intermittent fasting, starting at 12 hours, building up as you gradually have dinner earlier and breakfast later, which is the easiest way to do it because you're sleeping through the fast. It's not the only way to do it, but it's the easiest way to do it. We can talk more about intermittent fasting in another video. So I hope that has cleared up any questions you might have about leptin resistance. If you have any more questions, I'm now quite an expert because I've spent days and days and hours studying this leptin resistance. So as I say, it was only really recognised in 1994, 8 years after I graduated in 1986. I'm now retired, but I do free email consultations. I'll put my email address in the comments or in the description or both. And if you have any questions at all, please contact me at victoriaballardnaturopath@gmail.com. And I will not only answer you, if you want to go further into allergies, weight loss, all these health conditions, please just send me an email and I will reply. Thank you very much for listening and have a really great day or great afternoon or great evening or great morning. So here's saying best of luck. And if you've got leptin resistance, don't worry about it. You're not alone. It's not that you're greedy. Really, don't ever go down that path. You simply have hormonal pathways that are being interfered with by the food industry, possibly by allergies, and by snacking. That has to stop. Okay, nice talking to you. Have a good day. Bye.